The morning cycle bells chimed across Nexus Station, their gentle tones echoing through the massive corridors that stretched for kilometers in every direction. Ambassador of the clicked his mandibles in satisfaction as he reviewed the day's agenda. 200 years of diplomatic service had taught him to appreciate peaceful mornings like this one. The station rotated slowly in the void, creating artificial gravity for the thousands of beings who called it home. Through the great observation decks, stars twinkled like distant jewels against the black canvas of space. Ships from 100 worlds docked and departed in perfect harmony, their crews following protocols that had kept the peace for over 2,000 years. 6 legs carried him through the diplomatic quarter, his chitinous body reflecting the soft blue lighting that marked the embassy section. Other ambassadors nodded respectfully as they passed. The tall, graceful Etherians floated by on cushions of air, their translucent skin glowing with inner light. The stocky delegates stomped past in their environmental suits, their rocky faces hidden behind thick glass. The aquatic moved through water-filled tubes that ran alongside the main corridors. Everything was exactly as it should be. Everything followed the ancient patterns of civilized behavior that had made the Galactic Federation the greatest achievement in known history. Commander of the Navy swam through the clear tubes toward the military briefing room. His blue-green skin rippled as powerful fins pushed him forward through the perfectly maintained water channels. As the Federation's senior military advisor, his days were usually filled with ceremonial duties and theoretical planning. The Federation hadn't seen a real military threat in 300 years. The briefing room was a marvel of engineering, designed to accommodate every known form of life. Water-filled sections for aquatic species connected seamlessly with atmospheric zones for air breathers. Energy beings floated in specially designed containment fields, while rock-based life forms rested on heated stone platforms. High Mediator Essence of Calm materialized in the center of the room, its form shifting between colors like captured starlight. As one of the energy beings who specialized in conflict resolution, it had helped settle thousands of disputes over the centuries. Most conflicts these days involved trade disagreements or minor territorial overlaps. Real violence was almost unknown in Federation space. The morning reports show excellent progress, Essence of Calm announced, its voice resonating directly in the minds of those present. The trade dispute has been resolved. The colony expansion has been approved by all neighboring systems. The Epsilon sector mining rights have been redistributed fairly among all applicants. Shuffled through his data tablets, each one displaying peaceful negotiations and successful compromises. The Federation had truly mastered the art of civilization. Over 40,000 species lived in harmony, sharing knowledge and resources while maintaining their unique cultures. War was a concept from the ancient past, something barbaric races did before they learned better ways. The Federation's military existed mainly for show and rescue operations. Their ships were beautiful works of art, designed to inspire rather than fear. Smooth curves, gleaming hulls, and elegant weapon systems that rarely needed to fire except for asteroid clearing or emergency rescues. Most military officers spent their time studying ancient battles from the primitive wars that had ended ago. Lieutenant of the Vegan Security Force was monitoring the long-range sensor arrays when something unusual appeared on her screens. She was young for her position, only 80 years old, and her silver skin still held the bright sheen of youth. Most days, the sensors showed nothing but the familiar patterns of Federation traffic and the occasional comet or asteroid. But today was different. A small blip appeared at the edge of her detection range, moving in from the galactic rim. The galactic rim was supposed to be empty. No intelligent life had ever been found in those outer regions, and the few exploration missions sent there had found nothing but dead rocks and empty space. Adjusted her sensors, thinking it might be a malfunction, but the signal remained. Something large was approaching Federation space, following a direct course toward Nexus Station. She tried to identify the vessel type from its energy signature, but her computer found no matches in the vast Federation database. Probably just an unmanned probe from one of the research stations, she muttered to herself. But deep down, she felt a strange chill that she couldn't explain. The object was moving fast, faster than most Federation ships could travel without their exotic matter drives. But the energy signature was completely wrong for any known propulsion system. It was dense, controlled, and somehow aggressive in a way that made no sense to her trained senses. She sent a standard hailing signal on all frequencies. Every known intelligent species used at least one of the 847 standard communication channels. The Federation had been using these frequencies for thousands of years. Any civilized being would know how to respond. But the approaching vessel remained silent. Hours passed as the mysterious object grew closer. Word spread through the station's diplomatic channels. Experts from every major species gathered to study the sensor readings. The greatest minds in the Federation huddled around displays, trying to understand what they were seeing. The Preservers, ancient beings whose memories stretched back 100,000 years, searched their vast databases for any similar encounters. They found nothing. Not in all their recorded history had they seen anything like this approaching vessel. Fear was not an emotion most Federation citizens understood anymore. Their civilization had moved beyond such primitive feelings centuries ago. But as the unknown ship drew closer, something cold and unfamiliar began to settle in the depths of their minds. The vessel was large, comparable to their heaviest cruisers, but its design made no sense. Where Federation ships curved and flowed like works of art, this thing was all angles and harsh lines. Its hull appeared to be covered in protrusions that could only be weapon systems. Not elegant defensive arrays or ceremonial armaments, but brutal, practical tools designed for one purpose. As the day cycle faded to night aboard Nexus Station, millions of beings went to sleep not knowing that their entire understanding of the universe was about to change forever. The emergency council meeting had been called before dawn. Ambassador had never seen the great assembly hall filled so quickly or with such tension. Representatives from every major species sat in their designated areas, their usual calm replaced by nervous energy that seemed to fill the vast chamber. High mediator essence of calm floated at the center of the room, but its usual peaceful glow flickered with uncertainty. The energy being had lived for over 5,000 years and had never encountered anything like this situation. The unknown vessel continues to approach, Commander announced from his water-filled section. His normally steady voice carried an edge that made everyone listen more carefully. Current distance is 47 light hours and closing. Estimated time to arrival at Nexus Station is 18 hours. The massive display screens around the chamber showed the sensor readings. The approaching ship appeared as a bright dot moving steadily toward them, but the details made no sense. Its hull reflected their scanning beams in strange ways, as if the metal itself was designed to hide information. Doctor of the Scientific Council floated forward on her anti-gravity platform. Her ancient, wrinkled face showed confusion that worried everyone present. She had spent 300 years studying every known form of technology in the galaxy. The energy patterns are completely foreign, she announced. We have analyzed the propulsion signature against our entire database. No known species uses anything like this. The power output suggests a reactor system that should be impossible with any physics we understand. Murmurs of concern rippled through the assembly. The Federation had encountered primitive species before, but their technology was always recognizable, just less advanced versions of known science. This was something entirely different. Ambassador clicked his mandibles nervously. What about the ship's design? Surely we can learn something from its construction. The main display changed to show the clearest image their sensors had captured. The unknown vessel looked like it had been built for war. Every line and angle suggested violence in a way that made the peaceful delegates uncomfortable. Federation ships were designed to inspire wonder and demonstrate the beauty of advanced civilization. This thing looked like it was meant to kill. Notice the hull plating, Doctor continued. These are impact marks, scorch patterns from energy weapons, sections that have been repaired multiple times. This vessel has been in serious combat more than once. The observation sent a chill through the assembly. Combat was rare in Federation space. Real battles were almost unknown. Their military existed mainly for ceremonies and rescue operations. The idea that someone could build a ship specifically for fighting was disturbing. Commander Sfin's moved nervously as he studied the tactical displays. Those protrusions along the hull are definitely weapons, not ceremonial systems or mining equipment. These are designed to destroy other ships. The targeting arrays alone are more sophisticated than anything in our fleet. High mediator essence of calm pulsed with colors that indicated deep thought. We must consider the possibility that this represents a completely unknown civilization, one that has developed along very different lines than our own. The possibility was frightening. The Federation had always assumed that any species advanced enough for space travel would naturally develop peaceful solutions to conflict. War was something primitive cultures did before they learned better ways. The idea that an advanced civilization could still be violent challenged everything they believed. Lieutenant had been monitoring communications throughout the night. She approached the command console with obvious nervousness. We have tried every standard greeting protocol, all 847 communication frequencies, standard mathematical progressions, even basic pictographs. The vessel acknowledges our signals but does not respond. What do you mean by acknowledges? Ambassador asked. Their sensors lock onto us whenever we transmit. They are definitely receiving our messages, but they choose not to answer. This was unprecedented. Every species the Federation had encountered was eager to communicate once contact was established. The desire to share knowledge and culture was considered a basic trait of intelligent life. Silence usually meant either primitive technology or some kind of emergency. But this vessel clearly had advanced technology, and its steady approach suggested everything was under control. The silence seemed deliberate. Chief Strategist of the Defense Corps stood up, his massive stone body grinding against the floor. We must consider defensive measures. If this vessel represents a hostile force, we are not prepared. The suggestion caused an uproar. The peaceful delegates had never seriously considered the possibility of actual warfare. Their defense systems were designed to stop accidents or natural disasters, not military attacks. The Federation has not engaged in military action for over 300 years, protested Ambassador. Surely any species capable of interstellar travel would prefer negotiation to violence. Look at their ship, replied grimly. Does that look like a vessel built for negotiation? The main display zoomed in on the approaching craft. Even through the grainy sensor image, its purpose was clear. This was a machine built for destruction. Every visible component seemed designed to cause maximum damage to anything that opposed it. Doctor manipulated her controls, bringing up comparison images. I have analyzed the weapon systems we can identify. The energy output calculations are disturbing. A single full discharge from their primary arrays could destroy our largest ships. The assembly fell silent. The Federation's most powerful vessels were designed for impressive displays and ceremonial functions. Their actual combat capability had never been seriously tested because there had been no need. Commander swam closer to his section's communication panel. I am ordering our defense fleet to assume defensive positions around Nexus Station, not to threaten, but to demonstrate that we are not completely helpless. Is that wise? asked Essence of Calm. If they are peaceful, such actions might be seen as aggressive. If they are peaceful, why do they not answer our calls? Countered. Why do they approach armed with enough firepower to level cities? The debate continued for hours, but everyone knew they were just delaying the inevitable. The unknown vessel would arrive whether they were ready or not. All their centuries of peaceful civilization had not prepared them for this moment. As the ship drew closer, more details became visible. The hull bore markings in an unknown script, strange symbols that followed no recognizable pattern. Parts of the vessel showed signs of recent repairs, as if it had been in a battle not long ago. Most disturbing of all, the ship was definitely heading straight for Nexus Station. This was not an accidental encounter or a ship passing through their territory. Someone had deliberately chosen to come here, and they were bringing enough weapons to fight a war. The unknown vessel dropped out of faster-than-light travel with a flash that lit up every sensor array on Nexus Station. Ambassador felt his mandibles click involuntarily as he watched the massive shape materialize on the main viewing screen. What they saw changed everything they thought they knew about spacecraft design. The ship hung in space like a predator waiting to strike. Its hull was dark gray metal and pitted from countless battles. Unlike the smooth, artistic curves of Federation vessels, this craft was all harsh angles and brutal efficiency. Gun ports lined its sides in perfect rows, each one large enough to house weapons that could crack planets. Commander's fins trembled as he studied the tactical display. Length, 800 meters. Mass readings are off our scale. Armor plating is at least 3 times thicker than our heaviest cruisers. Those aren't just weapon systems, they're weapon platforms. The observation deck had filled with diplomats and scientists, all staring in amazement at their first glimpse of the mysterious vessel. Doctor floated closer to the main screen, her ancient eyes wide with disbelief. "Look at the battle damage," she whispered. "Those scorch marks, those hull breaches that have been repaired. This ship has been through multiple major engagements. Real warfare, not training exercises." High Mediator Essence of Calm pulsed with colors that showed deep concern. "The energy readings are extraordinary. Their reactor output is greater than our entire defense fleet combined." Strange markings covered the ship's hull, symbols and numbers painted in bright white against the dark metal. The script was unlike anything in Federation databases, angular and harsh like the vessel itself. Near what appeared to be the front section, larger symbols spelled out words that meant nothing to the assembled aliens. UES Retribution ran along the side in letters 3 meters tall. The Federation Defense Fleet had taken positions around Nexus Station, their elegant ships forming a protective barrier. But compared to the newcomer, they looked like toys arranged around a fortress. The contrast was disturbing to everyone who saw it. Lieutenant's voice cut through the nervous silence. Still no response to hailing frequencies, but their targeting systems are active. They are scanning our ships and the station. "Scanning for what?" Ambassador asked nervously. "Weapons, defensive systems, weak points. This is a military-grade tactical analysis." The implications were terrifying. Peaceful civilizations did not perform detailed weapons scans of everyone they met. This was the behavior of a species that expected violence and prepared for it as a matter of course. Chief strategists studied the readouts with growing alarm. Their weapons are powered and ready to fire, not targeting us directly but ready. Those are not ceremonial systems or emergency equipment. Those are weapons of war. The strange vessel maintained its position, neither advancing nor retreating. It simply waited, as if giving the Federation time to make the first move. The silence stretched on, filled only by the nervous sounds of dozens of different species trying to understand what they were seeing. Then, without warning, every communication system on Nexus Station activated at once. The signal was powerful enough to override their receivers and broadcast on every frequency simultaneously. The voice that emerged was unlike anything they had ever heard. It was clear, direct, and completely without the diplomatic courtesy that marked all civilized communication. The words were spoken in a language none of them recognized, but translation systems quickly converted them into standard Federation speech. This is the United Earth Ship Retribution. You will identify yourselves and state your intentions regarding the 3 human colonies you have under quarantine. The message hit the assembly like a physical blow. Human colonies. The Federation had never encountered humans beyond their primitive. Earth was classified as a protected species, too young and violent for contact with advanced civilization. Ambassador's mandibles clicked rapidly as he tried to process what he had heard. Human, but that is impossible. Humans are barely spacefaring. We have observed them from a distance, but they have never left their home system. Commander swam closer to his communication panel, his normally calm demeanor cracking. The quarantine zones, sectors 7 Alpha, 12 Gamma, and 15 Delta. We established protective barriers around those systems 300 years ago after detecting primitive colonies. We assumed they were endangered by their own violent nature. The implication struck everyone at once. They had not been protecting primitive colonies from the dangers of space. They had been imprisoning human settlements without knowing what humanity had become. High Mediator Essence of Calm attempted to open communication channels. Unknown vessel, this is Nexus Station of the Galactic Federation. We welcome contact with your species. Perhaps there has been some misunderstanding regarding the quarantine zones. The response came immediately, cold and direct. There has been no misunderstanding. You have imprisoned human colonies for 3 centuries. Explain your actions. The voice belonged to someone accustomed to command and completely comfortable with confrontation. Federation diplomats spent years learning how to speak without causing offense. This human spoke like someone who expected immediate answers and had the power to demand them. Doctor manipulated her displays, bringing up files that had been classified for centuries. The quarantine zones were established to protect what we believed were primitive settlements. Our scouts reported violence, warfare, military expansion. We thought we were saving them from destroying themselves. Your scouts, the human voice replied, observed military bases defending against extragalactic threats. What you call violence, we call survival. The words sent a chill through the assembly. Extragalactic threats. Nothing lived beyond their galaxy. The Federation had sent exploration missions to the galactic rim and found nothing but empty space and dead worlds. Commander's tactical systems suddenly lit up with new data. The ship is transmitting tactical information, battle records, threat assessments, enemy positions beyond our galaxy. The displays filled with images that made no sense. Massive shapes moving between stars, consuming entire systems. Fleets of ships designed for destruction engaging in battles that lasted for decades. And everywhere, human vessels fighting against enemies that seemed to come from nightmares. We have been at war for 400 years, the human commander continued. Fighting threats your Federation never imagined. The colonies you quarantined were our forward bases, our early warning systems against forces that would end your civilization in days. The peaceful assembly sat in stunned silence. Their entire understanding of the galaxy had just been shattered. They had thought themselves the most advanced civilization in known space, but they had been living in safety while another species fought to protect them. The human warship maintained its position, weapons ready but not targeting. It was a demonstration of power held in check, violence controlled but not eliminated. For the first time in their lives, the Federation delegates understood what it meant to be in the presence of apex predators. The communication channel crackled with tension as the human commander's voice cut through the silence once again. This time, however, there was something different in the tone. Not anger, but a cold professionalism that was somehow more terrifying. "I am Captain Sarah of the United Earth ship Retribution. I am transmitting our credentials and battle history for your review." Data flooded into Nexus Station's computers, overwhelming their systems with information that challenged everything the Federation thought they knew about warfare, technology, and survival. Ambassador watched the displays with growing horror as humanity's true story unfolded before them. The files showed a species that had been fighting for their lives since they first reached the stars. 400 years of constant warfare against enemies that the Federation had never even imagined. Creatures from the dark space between galaxies, entities that consumed entire star systems, machine intelligences that turned planets into weapons. Doctor studied the technical specifications with growing amazement. Their weapons technology is centuries ahead of ours, but not in the way we expected. Every system is designed for maximum efficiency in combat. No decorative elements, no ceremonial functions. Pure, focused lethality. Commander examined the tactical reports, his aquatic features pale with shock. "They have been fighting wars that we could not even comprehend. Look at these casualty reports. Entire fleets destroyed and rebuilt multiple times. Planets evacuated, colonies lost, billions of lives sacrificed to hold the line." The battle records were terrifying in their scope. The humans had developed weapons that could crack moons, shields that could withstand the heat of stars, and tactics that turned space itself into a weapon. But what made it truly frightening was that they had been forced to create all of this just to survive. High mediator essence of calm pulsed with colors that indicated deep distress. Why did they not contact us for help? The Federation could have assisted them in these conflicts. Captain's response was immediate and brutally honest. "We observed your civilization for 2 centuries before making contact. Your ships are beautiful works of art. Your weapons are ceremonial displays. Your military tactics are designed for parades, not battles. You would have been destroyed in the first encounter." The words stung because they were true. The Federation's military existed mainly for show and rescue operations. Their most powerful weapons were designed to clear asteroids or provide impressive displays during diplomatic ceremonies. They had never needed to fight for their survival. Ambassador clicked his mandibles nervously. "But surely your assessment of our capabilities is incomplete. The Federation has maintained peace for over 2,000 years. Our diplomatic solutions have prevented countless conflicts." "Your diplomatic solutions work because you have never faced an enemy that wanted to exterminate you," Captain replied. "You have never encountered forces that see your peaceful nature as weakness to exploit. You negotiate with species that share your basic desire to survive and prosper. We fight things that want to consume your entire galaxy." The main display screen shifted to show tactical recordings from human battles. Federation delegates watched in stunned silence as human ships engaged enemies that description. Massive biomechanical creatures that could survive in the vacuum of space. Swarms of self-replicating machines that turned debris into more weapons. Energy beings that fed on stellar radiation and grew stronger as they consumed stars. Chief Strategist studied the recordings with professional interest. "How do you defeat enemies like these? Our military doctrine has no solutions for such threats." "You adapt or you die," Captain answered simply. "Every human ship is built to be destroyed and rebuilt. Every human colony is prepared for evacuation or siege. Every human child learns to fight before they learn to read, because there might not be time for peaceful education." The implications were staggering. While the Federation had developed art, philosophy, and peaceful coexistence, humanity had been forged into something entirely different. They had become a species of warriors not by choice, but by necessity. Doctor brought up comparative analyses between Federation and human technology. Their ship designs prioritize survival over aesthetics, redundant systems, modular construction, weapons that can be quickly replaced or upgraded. Everything is built for a war that never ends. Lieutenant monitored the ongoing scans of the human vessel. Their defensive systems are active and analyzing our station, but the scans are not aggressive. They are protective, like they are identifying potential threats to us, not threats from us. The observation highlighted something crucial about human behavior. Despite their overwhelming military superiority, they had not attacked or even threatened the Federation. They had simply announced their presence and demanded explanations. Commander swam closer to his communication panel. "Captain, your species has clearly become very powerful. What prevents you from simply taking what you need from our territory?" The question hung in the silence for a long moment before the human captain responded. "Because we fight to protect life, not to destroy it. Every battle we win means someone else gets to live in peace. That peace is what we are fighting to preserve." The answer revealed something fundamental about human nature that the Federation had not expected. They had developed incredible weapons and tactics not for conquest, but for protection. Their entire military culture was built around the idea of sacrifice for others. High mediator essence of calm pulsed with new colors, indicating a shift in understanding. "The quarantine zones, you said they were military bases. What were they defending against?" "Early warning systems," Captain explained. "The enemies we fight often send scouts ahead of their main forces. Those bases were positioned to detect incursions and provide advance warning to both human and alien territories." The revelation hit the assembly like a physical blow. The Federation had not been protecting primitive colonies from themselves. They had been interfering with humanity's efforts to protect the galaxy from threats beyond the rim. Ambassador felt his worldview crumbling. We thought we were helping. Your colonies appeared violent and militaristic. We assumed you were destroying yourselves." "You saw military preparations and assumed aggression," Captain replied. "A natural mistake for a species that has never faced existential threats. But those preparations are the only reason your peaceful civilization still exists." To demonstrate the point, Captain activated the retribution sensor systems. The displays on Nexus Station lit up with detection grids that revealed dozens of objects moving in the outer system, objects that Federation sensors had completely missed. "Automated scouts," the captain explained calmly. "They have been probing your territory for 3 months. Your defensive systems never detected them because you do not know what to look for." With surgical precision, the Retribution's point defense systems eliminated each scout with single, precise shots. The Federation delegates watched in amazement as threats they had never known existed were removed with casual efficiency. The demonstration was more terrifying than any show of raw power could have been. It revealed that humanity had been protecting them without their knowledge, fighting a war they did not even know was happening. The silence that followed Captain's demonstration was different from before. It was not the silence of fear or confusion, but the heavy quiet of minds trying to understand a completely new reality. Ambassador found himself looking at the peaceful corridors of Nexus Station and seeing them differently. They were not monuments to civilization's triumph over violence. They were shelters that had been protected by others. High mediator essence of calm spoke first, its colors shifting to patterns that showed deep respect mixed with humility. "Captain, we owe your species an apology that spans centuries. We interfered with your protective efforts because we did not understand what we were seeing." "Apologies are unnecessary," Captain replied, her voice carrying a warmth that had been absent before. "You acted according to your nature and experience. A peaceful species seeing military preparations naturally assumes aggression. We do not blame you for trying to protect what you thought were endangered colonies." Doctor floated forward, her scientific mind racing with questions. The threats you fight, these extragalactic entities, how long have you known they existed? Why did you not warn the galaxy? The main display shifted to show long-range sensor data that stretched far beyond the galactic rim. Points of darkness moved between the stars, consuming light itself as they advanced toward inhabited space. We discovered them 400 years ago when they destroyed the first human colonies that ventured beyond the galaxy, Captain explained. At first, we thought they were natural phenomena. Stellar collapse, cosmic radiation, equipment failure, but the patterns were wrong. The images showed human exploration fleets disappearing one by one as they reached the edge of known space. But instead of retreating, humanity had investigated. They had sent more ships, better equipped and armed, determined to understand what was destroying their people. What we found changed everything, the captain continued. Entities that exist between galaxies, feeding on stellar energy and growing stronger with each system they consume. They had already destroyed dozens of galaxies before reaching ours. Commander studied the tactical projections with growing alarm. How many of these entities are there? Unknown. Our deepest scouts have detected thousands, possibly millions. They move slowly by galactic standards, taking centuries to cross the void between star systems. But once they reach inhabited space, they spread like infection. The Federation delegates exchanged worried glances. Their peaceful civilization had no concept of threats on this scale. The idea of enemies that could destroy entire galaxies was beyond their experience. Ambassador clicked his mandibles nervously. How has humanity been fighting such overwhelming odds? Your species cannot be numerous enough to face millions of enemies. Numbers mean nothing against these entities, Captain replied. Traditional warfare is useless. We had to develop entirely new approaches. Weapons that manipulate space-time, shields that redirect dimensional energy, tactics that use the enemy's own consumption patterns against them. The technical data that accompanied this explanation made Federation scientists gasp in amazement. Humanity had developed technologies that turned theoretical physics into practical weapons. They had learned to fight on scales that spanned multiple dimensions. Chief Strategist leaned forward with intense interest. You said your scouts detected these entities 3 months ago in our territory. Are we facing immediate danger? The question that everyone had been afraid to ask hung in the air. Captain's response was measured and honest. The main force is still 50 years away at current speeds, but they send advanced elements to prepare systems for consumption. Those scouts we eliminated were mapping your territory and identifying the most energy-rich targets. High Mediator Essence of Calm pulsed with colors that showed determination replacing fear. What can the Federation do to help in this conflict? We have resources, shipyards, millions of species with different capabilities. Your greatest asset is not military, Captain replied thoughtfully. It is your ability to coordinate peaceful cooperation between vastly different species. Humanity excels at warfare, but we struggle with the kind of complex diplomacy that holds your Federation together. The observation highlighted an important truth. While humans had become masters of destruction, the Federation had mastered creation. They had built something beautiful and lasting from the cooperation of thousands of different worlds. Doctor brought up resource allocation charts on her displays. If we combined human military technology with Federation industrial capacity, we could build fleets beyond anything either of us could manage alone. Exactly, Captain agreed. Humanity has the knowledge to fight these entities, but we lack the infrastructure to build weapons on the scale needed. The Federation has peaceful worlds that could be converted to military production if you choose to do so. The choice facing the Federation was clear but difficult. They could maintain their peaceful existence and hope the humans would continue to protect them, or they could transform their entire civilization to help fight a war beyond their comprehension. Commander swam forward decisively. The Federation Defense Council will need to vote, but I believe we have no choice. If these entities reach inhabited space, everything we have built will be destroyed. Ambassador found himself nodding in agreement. The Federation has always valued life above all else. If joining this war is necessary to preserve life, then we must adapt. The next hours were filled with frantic communication across the galaxy. Emergency sessions were called on every major world. The revelation that humanity existed as an advanced species was shocking enough, but the knowledge that they had been fighting to protect the galaxy was transformative. Reports flooded in from Federation territories that had been mysterious quarantine zones for centuries. Each one revealed human bases and defensive installations that had been watching for threats the Federation could not imagine. As the day progressed, a consensus emerged. The Federation would transform itself from a peaceful alliance into something new. They would maintain their values of cooperation and protection of life, but they would learn to fight for those values when necessary. Captain's final transmission to the assembled delegates carried a promise that would echo through history. For 4 centuries, humanity has fought alone to keep the darkness at bay. We became warriors so that others could remain peaceful. We sacrificed our innocence so that yours could be preserved. She paused, and when she continued, her voice carried something that had been missing from human communication for generations: hope. Now that we know you exist, now that we understand what you have built here, you will never have to face that darkness alone again. Together, we will make sure that the peace you have created survives, no matter what comes from beyond the stars. The silence that followed was not empty or fearful. It was the silence of a galaxy holding its breath before taking its first steps into a larger universe. The Federation had learned that their peaceful existence had been protected by those they never knew existed. Now they would stand together, combining human strength with alien wisdom, ready to face whatever emerged from the dark between galaxies. The age of innocent peace was ending, but the age of protected peace was beginning, and that, perhaps, was worth any sacrifice necessary to preserve it.